Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Cybersecurity Recruiter Podcast. Today, I'm joined by Lane McFarland. How you doing?
Good. Nice to be here.
Nice to see you again, mate. It's good catching up. I know you're a busy man with plenty of webinars and podcasts and community-led activity. You like doing things in the modern way, some AI thrown in there as well. So it's nice to pin you down, my friend.
It's been an interesting summer. There's been a lot of different podcasts and webinars and roundtables and fireside chats, but it's great to be able to share some of my perspective.
Yeah. And do you know what? When you start doing them, it's such a much more fun way to work, isn't it? The LinkedIn Lives used to cost me almost a half a day every time I did them because I couldn't work for an hour before because I was so nervous. Then I was like elated afterwards because I was like not messed it up. I was so happy. And then now I'm okay. But it's just, they're nerve-wracking at first. But once you get into them, they're great, aren't they?
It's just like having a conversation with a friend. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's good. No, it's really, really good. And I do think as well, like I've said this before on previous shows, but even if we're all busy, if we're not traveling around, if we're not commuting to the office back and forth, or even if we are just now and again, like the amount of time we're saving. So I think to kind of just take an hour out and have a good old chat for the benefit of others as well. There's no excuses.
And if there's something that I can share that was a hard learning journey for me and I can share with somebody else, I'd rather do that.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Cool. All right, Lynn, I'm going to do you a bit of an intro for the listeners that don't know you, my friend. If I get any of this wrong, feel free to shout at me afterwards, but I'll do my best. Started off as an instructor at Senton Hill University a few years back. You've also been a shareholder of a business management consultancy. You've been a VP of operations at Beachy's Place. You did that for almost a decade. You was in a management position for Quadoba Restaurant Corporation. You was a senior posting at Risk-Based Security, which was acquired by Flashpoint, which is where you are now. You were a director of people operations. And then where you are now at Flashpoint, you've been promoted on multiple occasions. You are currently the VP of people operations, operational excellence, process automation, and workforce planning. Welcome to the show. Cool. But yeah, that sounds like you're a busy man. But I'll start off where I always start, which is kind of, there's some big titles there and stuff, but what do you get up to? What's a day in the life like? What goes on for you these days?
If I could sum it up into one thing, I would say I keep the wheels on the bus. So everything people related, from talent acquisition, talent management, performance management, people experience, total rewards, the entire employee life cycle, from benefits and 401k and retirements, IRAs, smart pensions. I pretty much do all of the people side of our company. We got about 350 worldwide, around 8 countries. So It's a little bit of everything all day, every day.
Yeah, cool. Okay, cool. I bet across 350 different people. Do you know how many roles that's different skill sets and roles that's across? I bet it's a fair few.
We have a diverse, and this is not a plug for sales, but we have a diverse product offering, and we work with a lot of teams within the cyber field, from vuln management to cyber threat intelligence. So we have everything from reverse engineers and vulnerability discovery agents to deep dark web hackers who adopt criminal personas to get embedded with the hacker world to help some of our DoD and government clients. So the skill sets on the intelligence side spans the gamut. Our engineers are on every single tool, polyglot across the board. And then we have accounting, HR, business operations. So we have a variety of skills, personalities, tools, and then of course across those 8 different countries, we have every culture and perspective.
Yeah, do you know what the some of the roles you've mentioned there, like obviously like different parts of cybersecurity are cool as well. But when you start getting into reverse engineering and dark web and hacking, because when I started, all I did was pen testers and hackers because I just got obsessed with that subsection of security. But once you start learning what those guys and girls are doing, it's pretty cool, isn't it?
It's fascinating. I love sitting on the call just to see a walkthrough of a day in the life.
So yeah, a lot going on and basically just keeping everything together. You're the glue holding everything together.
Yes, we try our best.
Cool. All right, my friend. I know just before we came on, you were talking about, obviously we can't do a podcast without talking about AI and stuff like that. And I know you've been doing different podcasts and webinars on it. And I know you were mentioning a friend or a colleague of yours, and they're hiring at the minute and they've got an opinion on AI, which may be helpful to the listeners. What do folks out there need to know? What do applicants need to do and not to do? Any advice for the listeners on that front?
We have 3 or 4 hours for this call. Like, that'd be great. if I was trying to like kind of keep it called down, there is a balance, and cybersecurity is a little different. Cyber is normally that first one to adopt new technology. They're always utilizing it to better what they're doing, better their research, better their skills, better how they're showing up for their teams. But I would say that there is still a generalized fear of adopting, and especially from a job seeker perspective, there's a lot of fluff and fear mongering around what you should use AI for in terms of applying or interviewing. And I would say like the number one thing is always be curious and be teachable. I use AI every day, whether it's native, whether it's integrated into our workflows. We do a lot of custom. We've been working on agentic internally. And so we utilize it to make our lives easier. We only have 4 team members in the entire people ops department. For 350 people, we're still recruiting every day. We're still doing our normal culture initiatives. We're still working through all of our different benefits plans across 8 different countries. So we do a lot and we have to be optimized. So it's natural for us to adopt it and be curious. We have to, but from a job perspective, utilize it to the best ways you can and look to uncover ways that'll support you that is not unethical or dishonest. So there's one, I'm not going to name drop it, Ben Eubanks, which is a fantastic author on AI and HR. If you haven't checked any of his books, I highly recommend it. He and I were talking a few months ago, and we highlighted a tool out there that does before, during, and after interview prep. That's its whole spiel. That's how it markets itself. The before is fantastic. Interview prep, getting yourself skilled on STAR questions and STAR responses, and working through the job descriptions that relates to your skill set. If you haven't interviewed for a while, you need to find a way, and testing it with your spouse or your partner at home isn't always the best way to garner the best questions and answers, but it's a great tool to get you prepped for an interview. And then after, going through and saying, how did I answer this incorrectly? How can I better position myself? How can I have been more clear? How could I have articulated my position statement better? What did I say as my, tell me about yourself? Was that effective? Did it align with the job? But the problem is during. And we've probably seen videos all over social media, and I've seen a couple pop up on LinkedIn where they have the camera set in the center of the screen. One side is the answering the responses. One side is the interviewer, and it's giving answers on your resume, and they're just reading it. So aside from being dishonest, that negatively impacts your ability to showcase your skill set, because you don't know in real time as you're reading if it's true. It is cognitively near impossible to read something directly as a script and still cognitively be able to fact check it. So not only is it dishonest, but it's putting you at a disadvantage. And we've seen people struggle with, show me your camera to prove, show me your screen to prove that you're not using AI to support you. There's a weird balance from an interviewer perspective on like what you should and shouldn't do. There's not enough compliance or ethical writings out there on what you should or shouldn't do when it comes to but from a interviewer perspective, utilize it to set yourself above and apart, but don't use it to offset the honesty of who you are showing up. It's the same thing that I say when I hear people say, add white text to your resume. So the ATS scans the white text and places it above in the rating. Well, you know, from a recruiter perspective, if you see white text, it's a little dishonest right there. So you're going to have a natural bias towards seeing those show up. And I've seen things like hide a question for the recruiter in there. My team are reviewing 1,000 resumes per role. If they see white text, they're not diving through it to uncover what secret questions. They don't have time for it. So that is a way that people are trying to find a way to get through the parsing, to get through the rating, to get through the ATS. And they've been doing it for a decade. And it's hard when you're in the position of needing a job. You're trying to find any way to get into it. You're finding any way to offset your time, spending 45 minutes customizing resumes for keyword recognition, taking the balance of, do I reach out to the recruiter? Do I reach out to the hiring manager? Do I reach out to the head of this department? Do I have a colleague refer me? Do I dive deeper to see if there's a second level connection with this person? And it's a tough place to be in the market. But when you're utilizing tools to your advantage, you're only elevating yourself. You're elevating your capabilities, your education, your competency. And so none of that's going to go to waste.
Yeah. Thanks, Lane. There's so many things that you said there that I can relate to that I'm going to ask you about. The point you just made there about when you're on the market and essentially, like, I'm seeing it like people, decent people get laid off and all of a sudden they've got all the time in the world on their hands. And I know what it's like. I work remotely. I spend a lot of my life working, and I'm with you now virtually, but I spend a lot of time on my own. And I've noticed since, show my age a bit now, but in the old days, agency days, I used to be in the office on the sales floor, pint of beer at lunchtime. That's how old I am, like those days. So I was constantly with people. And if I had something on my mind, I would ask the person next to me and it would just be gone. Whereas now I'm on my own and I end up overthinking. So I can relate to it as well. If you're on the market and you're out of work, I think it's easy to overthink. But yeah, I see it a lot where, because I get bombarded. I'm sure you do, Lane, but I get bombarded on LinkedIn and then I don't reply for maybe an hour. And then I've got 2 more LinkedIn messages and it's like, whoa, man. Recruiters have got a lot of roles on their desk. Like you said, they're not reading white text. Don't overthink it. If a recruiter doesn't reply to you in an hour or half an hour or even 3 or 4 hours, it doesn't probably mean that you're out of the process, or it doesn't mean you've done anything wrong. It probably just means they're reviewing 300, 400, 500 other applications and they're working as hard as they possibly can, especially in this market. There is more candidates around than ever. I can't get back to everyone these days. I don't know about you, but it's really hard. It's really hard.
Near impossible. And I try to think back, like right after Flashpoint bought risk-based security, it was rated that start of 2022, we were leaving the employer market where you had a good solid amount of applicants. People were not necessarily wanting to leave their jobs. There was a lot of still negotiation. Employees had a lot more capabilities, or candidates in negotiation. But it was right at that point where it became the employee market for such a short period of time that I think I was getting, and I wasn't even recruiting at the time, I think I was getting between 15 to 20 LinkedIn messages a day for some of the roles that I highlight on my profile. But then all of a sudden I was getting 300 a week. And I had a canned message for everybody. I'm sorry, I'm not the recruiter. I'll highlight your interest. And it was a canned message because it had to be. But then all of a sudden, 300 a week. I can't even read through the ones that I can actually help with. And that's my position. But for the recruiters who are using LinkedIn for sourcing, they're also reaching out to candidates that they have found over the past. They're searching through prior messages for connections that they've had. They're using LinkedIn Recruiter for the tool set. But then it's just all of the noise in getting through the role to try to find the right person. And it is a balance of having empathy and care while still having candor and respect for your own time.
Yeah.
And just getting through the immense amount of to-dos.
Yeah, definitely. I did it the other week where I had all these inbound connection requests. I think it was about 1,600. And I was like, I'm going to go through all of these and really make sure if there's people from other parts of the world that, because I only work in the US market, I'm probably going to ignore that. I'm going to really go through it. I went through it and I looked and I cleared it all. It literally took me hours and hours and hours. And then I've looked back the other day and like, it's back up to like 300, 400, 500. I was like, what a waste of a Saturday that was. But yeah, it's insane. But I think the message here is it's never personal. I think be polite and persistent. And obviously there is some recruiters out there that just aren't, that that don't care and don't get back to people. But we're not talking about that. It is hard. I don't think people new to the market would quite realize just how much pressure recruiters are under. I'm working crazy hours as well. I don't have children or anything like that. If I had little kids running around, I don't know how I'd do it at the minute because you just get bombarded. It's just crazy, you know?
Yeah, and you never want to see a market get hit hard with, especially HR was a big market that got hit in 2023, like end of 22 into 23. The recruiter world got decimated. Huge companies were laying off thousands of recruiters. Agencies were dropping because they just didn't have the resources for it. And all of a sudden, the people that were responsible for finding right talent are now in the other position for recruiting in that market.
Yeah.
And if you talk to any of the people that were laid off at that time, or even just looking for work, right, what did that do for you? Like, oh my gosh, it gave me so much more empathy and care and patience to do what I needed to do, it's a great learning journey. And even when we looked at it, we were bringing on a recruiter under our team same time, right around January 23, and we got 1,100 applicants in 12 hours. And the recruiting lead messaged me, it was late at night, and he said, they just keep coming. So we're never going to be able to get through all these. I said, well, you know what? We'll get through these. And then if we need to go through a second round, we can do it. And we both sat down and said, you know what? We're going to go through every single resume. We're going to scan through all of them. He was doing a resume every half second. I was doing a resume every 5 minutes. I think I got through like 200. He got through 900 in a day. And our eyes were melting, but we had 20 candidates that we knew from a skill set on a piece of paper were a great match for what we needed to add value to our team. But his goal was, it's a tough market for recruiters. I'm going to get back to all these people. And if 980 don't match, I'm going to send them an email within 24 hours. That perspective allowed us to, when we get through all of these different resumes, allowed us to start being more proactive in how we message candidates. Not be 2 hours or 4 hours. It might be a week or 2 weeks when we can start realizing it's not what we need. It doesn't fit the skill set. It doesn't fit the competence. It doesn't fit the experience that we need. We're going to let them know within 7 days. Where they're not sitting by hoping to hear for something. And we've all seen it. 2 months after you applied for a job, you already started your job, you get a rejection email. Yeah, I don't remember replying. Great, but it's also one of those, all right, you could have said it a little earlier. I figured you weren't going to call me back.
Yeah, that's good. 1,100. Yeah, that's fair play to you and your recruiter there. I'm not surprised your eyes were literally watering. But it sounds like you did a good job. It sounds like you provided a good service to literally everyone, which is really nice. It's good. Yeah, good. Cool. So, Ben Eubank, AI and HR. So just so I'm clear, this is basically the ultimate tool for getting you ready for, is it a technical interview or a sales or any type of interview?
Ben Eubanks is an author. So the reference was this was a highlight. I can't remember the tool. But it's a tool that has before, during, and after is really the highlight.
Cool. Yeah, it sounds like a good training tool. I've had that as well before where, for anyone listening, please don't ever do that where you have your screen blanked out. If you've been recruiting for a while, you can tell within a nanosecond exactly what is going on. My security brain starts going really paranoid then. I'm like, okay, so they're reading off a script. This is definitely a spy. Right, they're trying to get in, and I go off on like his massive rabbit hole in my head, and I'm like, "What are they trying to do?" And then I'm like, "They're trying to hack me." It just freaks me out. But yeah, just don't do the script reading thing because any half decent recruiter will tell in a split second. Sorry, mate, you were going to say.
No, you're 100% right, and that was a great highlight from. I can't remember which talk it was. We were talking about like there was somebody said that they had an AI showed up for the interview, and the recruiter said, "Can you touch your nose for me?" And the agent said, "I can wave." Like, no, I need you to touch your nose. Can you just, quick touch your nose? And said, "I can wave." Like, I need you to touch your nose because the AI could not figure out the exact graphics to do this without incorrectly, altering the image. So all it could do was do waves or raise its arm. It couldn't actually change the perspective of the image by touching its nose. And when I heard about this, it's insanity. I have never seen this. I've heard about these type of virtual agents that are able to interview and able to do these things. However, I haven't had to see it. But from the industry we're in, we're very lucky because we have threat actors every day trying to infiltrate. That's the general sense of working in cyber. So having our team understand from an intelligence perspective what a fake profile is on LinkedIn or what one of these deep activists from one of the foreign countries that are trying to infiltrate us are, it's an easy flag for us. Highest perspective. It's okay. Here's the 7 things our hunt analysts told us to look for on a fake profile. If in the call you start hearing these flags and start raising the little spidey senses, it's an easy one for you to go, people that are outside of living in that world or have never seen it, even if they're in the recruiting for cybersecurity and have never done it before, it's a hard learning curve.
Yeah, it is, mate. And I think the thing you said as well, Lane, you said it about 10 minutes ago. You said if you're using, obviously we know that AI shouldn't be used for the stuff we're talking about now, but for everyone that's using it for the right reason, be ethical and honest. Like you said before, certain employers are looking for people to use it because there is this like almost not rumor, but there's like a thing going around at the minute where people are almost kind of coming back from AI thinking that it shouldn't be used at all, but you were saying that a lot of people, we do want to know you can, this is the future. We need to know you can use it.
Yeah, we're at that weird position that I've said this a couple of times in some of my more recent talks. Somebody told me in 1986, Excel fixed math. Nobody has a calculator on their desk. Nobody's doing long division by hand anymore. And no one has a problem with it. We still have mathematicians. We still have accountants. So the generative AI that we're working out without large language models is helping offset the manual efforts that are required to fulfill certain areas of our life. Why wouldn't we adopt it? We've adopted it 40 years ago. Let's adopt it now.
Yeah, no. I think at first there was that thing where just naturally, like the bulk of the population just resists change. That's just how it is. Like everyone does, pretty much. Yeah. But now I think everyone's coming around to it.
Yeah, you see all these stories nearly every day of these big companies that I got rid of HR and we have 100 agents that fulfill all of the requirements of HR. HR is human resources. If it's people ops, it's people operations. You can use the tool to help support and elevate the capabilities, even in the talent world. We have AI integrated into our ATS. We use it for automated scheduling. We use it for the searching. So we automate our Boolean searches to identify relatable keywords. If it's sales, they want to see GTM as an automated source. But if you are thinking that it'll completely remove the needs to have a team member, a button seat, a boot on the ground, you're ignorant. There is always going to need human intervention with the AI that we have now, because it's not truly AI. It's a large language model that has the capability to do actions that a human can do. But you need people. You need people like you that can create connection, build the relationship, the people that you're already thinking about for that next role when you're talking to a client. And they might not be ready, somebody else. AI doesn't have. AI can't build that relationship. It can build a Rolodex, but what's a Rolodex do?
Thanks, Lane. It's not nice to say that. And it's so true, because I saw a really funny post not long ago and it was talking about AI and recruitment. And it was basically like, have you ever dealt with a hiring manager that doesn't know what he or she wants, or one that changes their mind? It's like, how's AI going to deal with that? Yeah, I mean, I still get it now. Certain clients. I love my clients. Some of them are easier to deal with than others, and people change their minds and stuff like that. And you kind of learn what different clients mean after a while. They say one thing, but they mean another. When you've dealt with them for a few years, you kind of learn from experience. But yeah, no, it's fun and games. Lane, just going back to the AI and the fake candidates. Have you seen any? I've seen a little bit more of clients wanting to put an in-person stage in now to really be sure that they are hiring who they say they are. Have you seen much of that? Or
so I'm seeing a lot of different things in the market right now. One of the big things that I'm seeing is that still return to office, button seat, hybrid or full on-site work. And the organizations that are doing that aren't wrong in their choice. My company's 100% remote, and it's been working for us for 6 years now. But some companies it doesn't work with. If it fits your model and it fits your needs and it fits the style of your company, I think that makes perfect sense. What I'm seeing a lot of is the need for on-site recruiting. So the amount of 100% remote jobs that are on the market right now is declining significantly as you see more and more on-site. I haven't seen a whole lot, I'm not in the job seeking perspective or seat, but I've seen less of on-site at the later term, just like it used to be. The final interview is a panel in the boardroom with the leadership team members. That I'm seeing a lot more of, or if it's your model.
I've seen it, but we made a placement yesterday, and it was that one of the hiring managers was in New York, and they were just like, Tom, can you just go and get the guy to... They ended up on a great night out. They ended up attending 2 events, and we ended up bouncing around New York together for about 7 hours, having a beer together. It sounded like they had an absolute scream. It was a business development manager role in the Web3 security space. Yeah, no, it was really, really, really good fun. What I would class as like really sophisticated hacking companies that I know, and they've literally had people that have got quite far, and then they've realized they've clocked it, but they've not clocked it as quick as you thought they might have clocked it, So they've kind of said, right, that's it. We're still remote, but we need to actually meet everyone before they actually officially join and get onboarded,
Yeah, it's more difficult right now from the hiring perspective because you never know. And we've seen flags over the last probably 3 years or so where the person that shows up for the first day is not the person I interviewed. And the bigger the company, the more hands you have through that entire process. That first stage interview doesn't even get to see the person who starts. And in the US, when we have our I-9 verification through the E-Verify portal and everything, you have to verify the face matches the ID, matches the document, or even the right to work in the UK and Canada. However, that's a lot of time and effort that got you to the place where you finally go, this is not the same person. Yeah. So I understand the need for it. I'm a big supporter of the in-person panel, because it is a great way from a people leader perspective. You can uncover a lot of inherent biases in the hiring team or in the panel that you can coach through. I didn't like how they sat. I didn't like the clothes they were wearing. Great. That doesn't matter if they can do their job. So let's talk about them. Or it does. Maybe they're client facing and they need to wear a suit every day. And you've told them that and they showed up in scrubs. So you really have to balance the inherent biases that are not applicable to the role. And you can help coach and train through that. But you also get a very clear indication, like right after COVID, once everything was returning in the US, I loved in-person panels. I got people through those first 3 stages very quickly. And then we got it down to 2 or 3 candidates for an in-person panel interview with 4 panelists. I was always there as the safety person and making sure all the boxes are checked. But it was a great way to see the variance in how people are able to answer without having their screens in front of them to pull at the specific characteristics in your resume. And that's why anytime I talk to somebody or I'm coaching them through trying to find a job, I have peers looking right now. I do the resume review. I help them with their positioning statement. I help them with their reach out. And I tell them every time, if you can speak to every bullet on your resume, then it's true and honest. If you can't, then don't put it on. Can't put something on there that is a metric that is fluff just to impress because someone is going to ask you about it. And if it's dishonest, it's going to be a flag. And that's a big one that you see in person interviews is, great, tell me about this project you led that saved the company $3 million. Like, yeah, no, that was a good project. Like, why even put it on there? You know we're going to ask about it.
And at that point, you just killed the vibe. Even if there is loads of good stuff that you've got to talk about, you've just killed the vibe for the whole interview then.
Yes.
So, yeah. On the in-person thing as well, Lane, it's true. I had it on a really senior hire where we had a couple of people in the running towards the end, and I really, really liked one, and my client just couldn't quite see it. And this was a really accomplished chap. He'd sold his own MSP and he'd gone on to work for the acquiring MSP and stayed on as the COO. So he was a really, really experienced guy. And then he met the candidate that I liked, and he rang me after. He was like, so, I get it now. He goes, I just couldn't feel it through the Zoom. I was like, wow. So it gives you that additional read on someone as well, I think.
Yeah. And there's a balance of the perspective of the importance of it. Not diminishing that. I 100% agree. I like that final stage, or I like that in-person opportunity to meet, see each other, bump an elbow or shake a hand, whatever it may be. I personally enjoy that. Based on the role, does that give a negative perspective one way or another, a positive perspective one way or another, based on how they show up? If you personally can't feel connectivity between video, that's a you problem. And that's coachability. If you're going to spend on the leadership team, you're spending 8 hours a day in a boardroom talking about the true strategy that's going to take your company from 10x to 15x, that makes perfect sense. There needs to be chemistry. There needs to be something more than just those companies and skills. But if it's something that is, I just didn't feel it. Like, okay, tell me what that means. Tell me, is there a problem with their skill? Do they the language requirements that you picked for that linguist? Oh, they do? Okay. You just didn't vibe with them? Is that a requirement of the job? No? Okay. Time to remove your biases.
Do you know what? That from a recruit, I'm laughing because from a recruiter standpoint, when you get that feedback, there's just nothing. I mean, I had it. I'll know it when I see it. It's like, you'll know it when you see it. That's not helping me.
We did some training a while ago, and it was always fun because I don't like sports. My kid plays them, fun. I'm here to kick the ball, throw the ball, whatever. I just don't watch it. And the TA leader on our team, big sports fanatic. So a lot of times when we'll talk, I'll sit there and go sports, kick the goal. And it's a fun joke between the two of us. And we did a training on it. And somebody in the early years said, I like to ask the candidate who their favorite football team is. And my first question was, I'm sorry, why does that matter? Like, I know that they're competitive because they like football. American football? Like, that's the only football. I'm like, all right, well, this is getting interesting. Great. You think I'm good at my job? And the hiring manager said, absolutely, Lane, you're fantastic at your job. I said, I hate sports. I don't watch it. I don't play it. I don't enjoy it. Does that mean I'm worse at my job? And you see, like, no, yeah, exactly. Okay, so now we're starting to realize that doesn't matter, first of all. And second of all, you're just showcasing something that makes the candidate not really want to be here. What's your favorite sport? They say, I like soccer. I like football. all of a sudden the discomfort between a hiring manager and a candidate, it's starting to become palpable, and it has no impact on how they're going to do their jobs. You already put a negative taste in your mouth for the candidate. And the recruiter said they're going, it doesn't matter. He's doing a great job. He's not going to take the offer because you're being mean. So these are things that you're battling and the teams are battling every day, trying to remove those type of things. It's like, we're in a new age where a lot of us are remote, we're across oceans, and we're able to talk to each other. So let's determine what matters most.
Yeah. By the way, Lane, so as a British guy, it's way worse for me because I don't like soccer or football and I know nothing about it. I can't explain the offside rule. Like, I used to go and watch it with my dad when I was younger, but the minute I was old enough to realize what was going on, I never watched a game of football. Like, I've got zero interest in soccer. But as a British guy, everyone thinks that you're crazy about it. So like, oh, is it Chelsea, Man United? And I'm like, no, I like God. That's all I play. And it's like, but like for me, it's weird because everyone just presumes because you're British, you're mad about soccer, basically. But I'm not.
Well, that was a fun game to play too, especially like when you're in any type of reaching management with clients or customers or even internal or external candidates. It's a fun game. And I remember back in college, all my friends played soccer and they're like, who's your favorite team? Like, I don't play. I've never played. And so I remember walking around going, who's your favorite team? Or Chelsea, who's your favorite team? Liverpool, who's your favorite team? Manchester City. And I remember going, who do you all hate? And they went, Man U. I'm like, that's my team. Never go. I just know that if you start talking about it, I'm just going to start chanting about Manchester United to make everyone hate me. And I still never have to learn about it. It's fantastic. It's a great way to still be able to position that conversation and everybody look at you and go, nah, I'm talking to that guy. So it's a quick disruptive statement.
Turn it into a positive, I think. I'm going to start using that one. But on the remote thing, Lane, as well, I think companies can be both. I mean, I'm fully remote. I absolutely love it. Don't get me wrong. Some days I miss the banter in the office, but I think that novelty would soon wear off. I think remote is the one. Where I see problems are when companies aren't intentional or when they change their minds. And I've seen that before where it's like, right, you're all back in. And then it's like the founder can't make his or her mind up. I think that causes huge problems from a cultural, morale, recruiting perspective. I think as long as you stick to your guns and you're intentional, you can make either work.
Yeah. I think remote work is here to stay, but not for everything. There are so many industries that require you to be in person or in field or on site for something. Tech is one small piece of that. And I think it matters most about the specific industry and what you're actually driving for, like the intentionality behind it. You see a lot of companies do this whole push return to office in the area that I'm in, Virginia. We're like, you have to be in office. And these aren't my companies. So I'm always the naysayer, like, why? What does it matter? What do you need or what are you missing? The manager's perspective varies so differently from the business's perspective, where they determine like, well, we don't know what people are doing. It's like, okay, well, it sounds like you have a performance management issue. You need to be able to track better KPIs. Do you care about fingers on keys and keystrokes and mouse movements, or do you care about the deliverables that they're receiving? Like, we care about deliverables. Are you tracking it correctly? No. So you want people on site because you don't have good performance measurements. Correct. That's honesty. That's honesty right there. But for like the camaraderie in the building, I completely agree. We had an office here right when RBS was bought, and we had 50 people in office every day. It was fantastic. I wasted so much time. I moved through the rank from management by walking around. I'm great people grabbing a coffee, going to talk to that director, going to talk to that entry-level analyst, that mid-level engineer, asking about how their day is, what things they're struggling with. And 2 hours into my day, I'm like, wait, what was I doing? Oh, yes, working. But I have to go find my way to my desk. But then there is the offset. The most critical strategy conversations I've had around the future of the business, how to get there, has only been done best in person. And it's not because we had access to the pretty whiteboard. I keep one over there. I drag it out for sessions and it drives people nuts because they can't see it. But sitting in a room for an hour, breaking things down Barney style, and getting a clear indication on the trajectory of where you want to take the company, I think the good conflict of in-person conversation, banter, naysaying, and driving questions interpersonally is hugely impactful in person. Harder, and it takes longer when you're over Zoom because you can't read body language. People are less likely to speak up. They're more likely to go on mute or turn the camera off and come back to sitting there smiling at it because of the perception they think that it's going to be. But in person, you can lock the door, you can have an argument, you can drive change forward. But on Zoom, there's so much more nicety and less candor than you get anywhere else. So I always like to see, what are you trying to get? Do you want people in person, or what reason? If it's a great reason, I fully support you. If it's a bad reason, I think you just need to elevate how you're doing things.
Yeah, no. I think as well, like when you describe that day where you meet up to do something important, that goes back to being very intentional. Like you're meeting up, you've hired an office, or you've gone to the office, or you've hired a boardroom, and you go in there with an agenda. You've got an objective. You're maybe going to have a bit of lunch. I think everything's amplified if for a good reason, because you go in there to like really, really hash it out and knock it out. So I think, it can be, the in-person on those days could be really good, really productive as well.
I can get through 75 emails in 40 minutes remotely. I can get through 75 emails in a full day in an office.
Yeah, I can always remember in the office, there was always someone that didn't really want to work. So they'd always offer to make the coffees for everyone. That would lose them an hour or half an hour or whatever it might be. You'd always get them. But there's a lot of banter, a lot of fun. I think I just remember the best days. I'm sure there was loads of days where I was like stuck in traffic on the way there, or on the tube in London, face squashed against the window. I'm sure there's plenty of bad times as well. Cool. Lane, about 10, 15 minutes ago, you mentioned you help your friends with their resumes and you help them when they're applying and you really break it down for them. And you mentioned not to put anything on the resume that they can't articulate themselves well on. Make sure it is something that really, they were involved with and is real, somewhere where they've had huge impact. But the other thing you mentioned is you help them with their outreach when they're applying. Can you break that down a bit more? Is there any specific instructions you give them? Because I think in this market, that's quite a big point, is how they actually get in front of people.
I haven't cracked the code.
Yeah.
But I think it's varying levels of the industry and the role that they're looking for, and also what their talent pool is like. So for us, having outreach to a recruiter for something that's had 2,000 applicants this week, they're not going to read it. They don't have time. They don't have the capability of going through there. Reach out to the hiring manager. They have the same 30, 40, 50 messages. Having a connection with another team member that either you've worked with before, has a relation to what's happening on the boots on the ground, is beneficial. So my first recommendation for people is not targeting your top 3 employers. That is not the market we're in right now. Unless you're one of the big 4 or the big 50, you're not recruiting 180 jobs right now. So there is more likely one role in the next 9 to 12 months that you would fit at a target company. If you research the company more in terms of this is what they have, this is where they are, and this is what they're looking for, you're able to determine your specific, we'll call it a campaign structure around them. For the Richmond area, Richmond, Virginia, we're seeing a lot of on-site roles. It's a big push for it, and we'll focus on the marketing perspective. So marketing is having a big push in the Richmond area in the technology division, where they're looking for senior leaders in marketing. They're getting 10 to 15 applicants total, when we're looking at 1,000 a day at any level of the role. So remote companies have exorbitant amount of applicants. On-site companies are having a lot less based on the market. New York City is going to be a lot higher, obviously, but BFE Ohio does not have as many. So if you are applying to a small company or a small candidate pool for an on-site role, reaching out directly is beneficial. That's how I got my break into cyber. I reached out to the CEO 2 weeks after I applied, expecting I probably got rejected in that time period. And it was very succinct, very short, sweet, to the point. And I remember after I got hired, I looked in the ATS to see his commentary, and it said flat out, Lane reached out on LinkedIn. It was pretty solid. That's what he put inside the ATS as his commentary. And all of a sudden I went from denied to top of the list. But there were, I think, 35 applicants at the time. So that was the right methodology. If it is a 1,000 applicant a day type of field or remote opportunity, reaching out to the hiring manager, the recruiter that posted the role, or even me, 2 layers above the recruiter that's actually reporting, you're not going to get any headway based on time or opportunity or even bandwidth of the hiring team. But finding somebody in the company that is in that same role that you either already have a connection with or having a second level connection with. Finding your network's opportunity to open that. So when I'm helping coach my friends through that, the first one is research the company, research the opportunity, know what you're getting into. The second one is look at your network and if you are connected in any way to either the hiring team or a member of the team. And if you are, ask for an introduction. Regardless of the size of the company, you should always look for internal referral, introduction, but not a blind referral. That is a waste of time. Reaching out to a random person and say, hey, would you refer me internally? We have very strict requirements for what internal referrals are. You must have had to work with the person at a previous role. You must be able to speak to their experience for us to count it as a referral. If you have not, the system won't even push it into a referral, it just push it into a general application. So it doesn't support it. If somebody emails me a resume internally and says, hey, I really think you should look at this guy for this role, I'm going to forward on to the recruiter because Joe said this person is actually a good fit. I worked with him in the past. So that's helpful, but it's all based on what you're looking for. But I tell everybody, the industry and the opportunity you're looking for determines the exact style of your reach out. I have a canned message when I'm growing my network. I think I did it with you probably 2 years ago now, maybe a year and a half ago. It said, not sales, not recruiting, just increasing my network with peers looking to exchange insights. And that has yielded me over a 90% success rate. And I keep that network in touch. I like to reach out, ask for insights, recommendations, a person that they can introduce me that would help me navigate this learning journey. And the style of which the outreach I coach my peers for is very similar, unless it's specifically towards a role. Connecting with a founder at a small startup, I'm going to start it off saying, this isn't sales or recruiting. I'm really interested in what you're doing. I'd love to learn more. You're creating that connective tissue. And if there's no role open now, fantastic. You're top of their list, especially for smaller companies. The first place they look is their LinkedIn. They look for people they worked with in the past. They look for people they're connected with. They're looking for people that are highlighted as experts in their industry. And they're not going through the old paper Rolodex to determine that, especially at a smaller company. So creating that network of connections is beneficial throughout your career. And you can't only flex it when you're looking for a job.
Mate, mega answer, by the way. You said you haven't cracked the code. I don't think you're too far off, mate, because that is the most thoughtful, strategic, detailed answer. You've just given so much there about using one remove, being more strategic in general, looking at where the site's located, looking at where the demand is. If there's 1,000 applicants for a remote job, you're probably going to be struggling. You've really put some thought, like, the hell of an answer, mate. Very good.
Good.
Really good. I think the thing you mentioned it before as well is I think a lot of people are just so reactive and not proactive. If I think about reaching out to clients, like I reach out to clients, one of the first things I do every day is reach out to prospective new clients, not because I'm trying to engage them as a client today or next week or even next month, or maybe not even this year. I'm future-proofing for the business, for our client base. If you work like that, it's easier to build relationships with clients as well. And I think it's the same when you're looking for a job. If you can be more of a long-term thinker and be more proactive and not just reach out when you want something, it does make the game a bit easier.
Yeah, and it's hard maintaining a network unless you're in a client-facing type of role or industry, or it's not something that comes easily to you. It's very intentional. You have to work at keeping that network hot. You have to work at keeping the connection with the people that you know that both benefit you professionally and personally. And I've had mentors over the last 15 years of professional work, and I cycle them based on the interests and needs that I have at a time. But those mentors are somebody that I always keep connected with. If it's once a year, fantastic. We have a 5-minute once a year conversation. How the family, how the kids, how's everything going for you? Tell me what you've been up to. And it's a great way to stay connected to those people. You don't have 3 hours a week to just work on your network. 10 minutes a week, fantastic. That's a great opportunity to stay connected. Like you say, reach out once a day. How are things going? What do you see in the market? What are you struggling with? How can I help?
Yeah, and it compounds over time. But to your point, Lane, when I think about agency side, for some people, that is a full-time job. They take the recruitment off certain people. They take the delivery off certain people. And some people's job is just purely build relationships and bring new clients in. It's all they do all day, every day. So that shows you how time consuming it is. It's a full-time job.
That's why you see the difference in the sales process of pre-sales, post-sales, and account management. Like there's a lot of effort involved.
There is, mate. One of the favorite things I like what you said there, and I love that bit about, you said make sure it is a genuine referral and there is like a genuine mutual connection there. But if there is, going one removed from the hiring manager or one removed from the recruiter, that's a great idea. Really good.
Yeah, connected with the team. I've never seen a better booster for Lane than people I've worked with in the past, whether it's on the same team, whether it's adjacent, whether it's a leader 3 times removed. They're the biggest boosters of who Lane is and what Lane can do. It's not my last boss. It's my last peer. It's the person that I know that knows what I'm capable of outside of what's on a job description.
Yeah, definitely. That familiarity as well. Again, I can really relate to this from a business perspective when we're bringing new clients on. If they know someone you've recruited for before, which so often they do because the security community is so tight-knit, there's no selling involved. They're like, oh, you've recruited for that. Oh, okay, fine. I get it. It just makes life so much easier.
Yes.
All right, Lane, as we come to the end here, I used to basically say what book has had the most positive impact on your career, but it can be book, it can be online content, it can be podcast, just anything that's made you the best version of yourself that could help the listeners. Anything spring to mind?
You're tapping on the L&D side of Lane. I love that question. It's a constant conversation that we have throughout my teams, my peers. And I would say the number one book that has had a positive impact on me as a leader is Dare to Lead by Brene Brown. My wife is a clinical psychologist. She's the one that turned me on to Dr. Brown. And wow, was she right? There was a lot of growth areas that I needed to make in my leadership journey. And then I would say another great learning item is the Maxwell Leadership Executive Podcast. So I'll say it a little slower. Maxwell Leadership Executive Podcast. Maxwell Leadership is an executive coaching organization. I've never had the chance to take any of their training. I do executive coaching myself. So it was a way for me to elevate both my coaching style, but I like it because it is a natural conversation with real world examples of what people are struggling with, whether you're a 5-person organization or a 10,000-person organization. And it prompts you to think about the situations that you are either encountering or going to be approaching in your professional career. And it was Voltaire that said it. Humans don't rise to the occasion, they fall to the level of their training. And unless you've experienced a situation before, you need to be able to recall a previous situation. And I like that podcast. I think they're up to 400 episodes. I reached out to one of the podcasters years ago, Perry. He's a fantastic writer. He's a fantastic speaker. I begged him to be my coach. So it's been a great conversation since then. But those are probably the 2 most impactful learning mediums that I've had.
Brilliant, mate. And we'll definitely get them in the show notes. And yeah, thanks for today, mate. You've got a really good energy about you. Like I'm literally like, I can feel it's infectious, mate. I can feel it. And it's really good. I feel like the way you're building your career and helping others, I really feel like it's the modern way to do things with the pods and the webinars that you do and stuff like that. So I think there's a lot that I can learn myself from you and people listening. So thank you. It's been good. Think we've done okay? Think we've about smashed it?
No, this is perfect. The only thing that made it better is a pint, right?
Yeah, definitely. Not too many. I'm getting a bit older. I can't handle it. I literally can't handle it anymore. If I have a few beers, I can get up and work the next day. But like mentally, I'm just really anxious. And I used to be fine, but it must be an age thing. I don't know.
Yeah, it catches up with you.
Thanks again. It was really flowed, mate, and I really enjoyed it. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks for having me.